Hey guys, I made this video last night. Well, actually, I made a video talking about this last night, but it turned out bad. I stuttered a little too much. I was anxious. So I'm remaking it. I'm redoing the video this morning. Anyway, last night I think I might have been set up. I don't know. What they try to do is create they use street theater to create a very provocative performance, one that would actually require or cause and require maybe an average citizen to report things to the cops, right? But then when you or to someone, to someone with authority, and then when you report it, the performers stand back as if nothing had happened, and you look like you just overreacted. So for example, a while back, the ceiling was leaking, and this happened in the old apartment and this one too. It happened in the apartment that we left, and it happened in this one with the leaking ceiling, and it's crazy. But yeah, it was leaking, it was dripping, and luckily I recorded that and posted that video, right? So I have proof of just how bad it was. I called, I said, hey, you guys gotta come now, our ceiling is leaking pretty badly. They didn't come for a half hour, 40 minutes, maybe even over that. And by the time they got there, it had stopped. Okay, and they looked up at the ceiling, then they looked at me as if I was just, making too much of it. So they'll do that a lot. Too, they'll have major performances where they'll have people get into a fight or start shouting at each other right in front of me, or throwing things, or, one time they had a group of guys, start harassing another man who was alone, of course, which I hate. I can't stand it when a cowardly mob gathers against one lone target who doesn't have any ability to fight back against a group. So they had that happen, and they looked like they were going to assault him, so I'm getting ready to do something, and then they walk away, right? Luckily they walked away before I called the cops or did anything. Then they came back a few minutes later, and they were all acting buddy-buddy and giving high fives and shit. So it's kind of like the psychopaths running this program are setting up a situation where the target is going to overlook crimes that are happening, because they're never going to know if it's a setup or not, if it's real. And not just crimes, but also people who are in trouble, people who might need help, right? I think this is being used in order to condition targets to just walk away and not do anything, because you don't know if the person is legitimately in need or if he or she is just an actor or actress. Also, too, they'll have people fall around me. One time, actually twice, well, once I was on the bus and they had a woman, maybe, I don't know how old she was, maybe in her 50s or 60s, I don't know. She fell in the middle of the street, and I nobody moved to do anything, so I got up, and by the time I was about to get off the bus, but then other people went and helped her. Another time in another location, they also had a woman fall right in the street, right by my window. And luckily someone, helped her right away before I could get up to do anything. And then they walked away, everything was fine. They'll have people fall. One time I was walking down the street, and they had this woman trip. She was wheeling a basket of groceries, and they had her trip right in front of me, and I held up my arm to catch her before she could fall. But, even that could be used as, if someone was recording the video, they can use that against me. All they can show is my arm out there, and not the fact that she almost fell first, And granted, she said thank you afterwards, but, who knows? Who knows? We don't know what she was used for. She might not even know what she was used for, if it was a setup, right? If she was just told to do that. So, right. It's been a few days of massive provocations with one Russian perpetrator. I know he's a perpetrator. He was starting up a lot. He was making references to things I said and did in private. And last night he wore a shirt that I had looked up on Amazon for myself. The exact same shirt. It just references that they're into everything, like vermin. Okay. Anyway, I was doing laundry, so I got back from the laundry room, and as I walked out of the elevator onto our floor, there was a woman sitting on the chair in the hallway, on one of the chairs. Now, I've seen her there before. She sits there quite often, and she doesn't usually talk to people. Sometimes she'll say hi when I say hi to her, and sometimes she won't. Sometimes she just doesn't respond. So I said hi, and she was kind of the same typical. She behaved the same way she always does. She was still sitting there. So I walked on to our apartment, which was around the corner. But as I was getting ready to open the apartment door, I heard a loud thump, a very loud thump. And then, even before she started moaning, I knew what happened. They have people fall when I'm in close proximity. So I didn't have to go around the corner and see her on the ground to know she had fallen. I knew she fell. So I went back around the corner, and by that point, by the time I got back, she was, of course, on the floor, as I anticipated, and she was moaning and she was whimpering, but something else, too. She was not quite breathing, but she was trying to get up and falling again, trying to get up and falling again. Now, there are a lot of elderly people in this apartment, but she's not so old where she couldn't have gotten up. She looked confused. She looked dazed. She was sweating a little bit. Something was clearly wrong. I bent down by her, and, I was afraid it could be a setup, but at the same time, she was in so much distress that I called downstairs. The reason I didn't call 911 right away is because they have medical staff in the building. I figured if I called downstairs right away, they could both call 911 and get help from the medical staff in the building quicker than 911 could get here. So they would do both. So I called down to the building and I said, hey, and I was panicking. I truly, to be honest, I was kind of panicky. And I said, we need an ambulance here. I need you to call an ambulance, and I need you to get someone up here because this woman, she fell on the ground and she's moaning, she's whimpering, she's in a bad way. And so they said, okay, they're going to call an ambulance and they're going to get someone, they're going to get security up there. I expected security to get up there a little quicker, but they didn't. They waited for the ambulance to get there. By the time, so let's backtrack. So I stayed with the woman, right? And, I kind of kneeled on the ground by her. And what happens is in this building, they say if someone falls, they don't want you to pick them up because they might be seriously injured. And you can do more damage to them that way. Also, it might be a legal reason. I don't know. But first and foremost, if you're not a medic, if you're not trained in that kind of thing, they don't want you to risk doing any more harm to the person. If a bone is broken and you move them, you don't know what can happen. So they tell you to stay with the person until the ambulance gets there. So I stayed with her. But then she started moving around and trying to get up and falling back down and trying to get up and falling back down. So I told her, no, just sit down. Just sit down, take a few deep breaths. Okay, sit down and relax. Just don't move. Okay. She said, okay. And then she mumbled something that was inaudible. And I thought it was ambulance. And so I said, yes, the ambulance is coming. I'm not quite sure what she said. It was inaudible, and she's not usually that inaudible. I know she can respond in a way that makes sense. I don't know. Then she said, she was trying to get up and falling, and I didn't know, her leg looked kind of twisted. I didn't know what happened. No, it didn't look broken, but it looked twisted. She said, could you help me up? And I said, no, just sit there until the ambulance comes. I was following protocol, and I didn't want to hurt her even more. Finally, she did manage to get up onto the chair, and I said, are you okay? And she said, I'm fine. Just like that, I'm fine. Wipes the sweat off her face, wipes the sweat off her chest, I'm fine. I'm thinking, okay, good. But then the ambulance, the medics came, the paramedics came with security, and she's sitting on the chair, and they ask her, what's wrong, are you okay? She says, I'm fine. Now, a few minutes ago, I was panicking on the phone, and now I'm fine. Now, I'm glad she's okay, but again, it made me think this might have been a setup, first and foremost, to discredit me, again, and second, to, again, condition me when these things happen to just walk away or not take it as seriously as it should be taken, knowing that at some point someone is going to be in serious trouble and, the person who could have helped them is just going to walk away. They keep reinforcing it this way, I don't know if it was a setup. If it was, she was a very good actress. She was a very good actress. It might not have been, though. We know they have technology that can screw with people's minds. It can confuse people. It can make them fall. It can do all kinds of things. And she kept saying, when I was there with her before she got up, she said not everything's fine, but she said, what's going on? I don't know what's happening. What's happening? Because I asked her what's wrong. Do you know what happened? She said, I don't know what happened. I don't know. right before she started mumbling again, right? Then I would ask her, who are you? And she would mumble again. And I say, well, what happened? And she'd kind of, it was almost a mumbled, I don't know. So she seemed so confused. And her movements were something similar to something I saw on a bus years ago, where this woman she was lying on the ground of the bus and she was wreathing around, almost like, I don't like describing it this way because it's an ugly description, but I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, no offense, kind of like a fish out of water. She was flopping, and her arms twisted, kind of like in palsy, right? She, and they had called the medics then too, but it looked like what happened to this woman. And I don't know if it's some technology that the psychopaths are using or what, but and I don't know. But once we start talking about that, we get into dangerous territory, because even though a lot of that technology has already been shown to exist, I mean, it's not a secret anymore. You talk about it and they call you crazy or paranoid or conspiracy theorist. And see, I'm trying to be careful here. Anyway, I don't know if it was a setup or if it was real. I hope she's okay. They did take her to the hospital. One of the medics said that she was mumbling a lot and she was slurring her speech. With me, she was doing that on and off. Like occasionally she did respond to a question somewhat coherently, not quite. But with him, she was mumbling more and she was kind of slurring her speech. And he did mention something about the side of her face. I don't remember what he said. I don't know if she had a stroke or not. Hopefully not. Hopefully she's okay. But I don't know. Was it all an act, or was it something else? Was she really in trouble? Did they do something to her? Did they use technology to cause her to fall or to cause her to have a stroke? I don't know. Anyway, there was more I wanted to say in this video. A lot has happened. There was, even before that, as I was coming down the elevator, before I got out, there was a Russian woman in there. I know she was Russian. I could tell the accent, unless the accent was faked. That could easily be the case, right? We know our own government is involved in this too. So, and I mean the PSYOP, the gang stalking. So her accent could have been faked. They could be making it seem like it's Russia. I don't know. But the food issue is getting bad, right? I've had to restrict because at this point it's all or nothing, and I don't want to end up with refeeding edema again. So I've been restricting a lot, and I've really been hungry, and I've been looking up food online that I really want, and I looked up this restaurant that I wanted. It was a certain restaurant with pizza. And so she when I got in the elevator coming back from the laundry room, she was standing there with a big pizza from that very same restaurant. All I could say was, boy, that smells good. And in her thick Russian accent, she responded. I'm just tired. I don't know what to say anymore. Anyway, I hope the old lady is okay. I say old, she looked like she was around 60. I don't know, I hope she's okay. Anyway, that's what's happening now. Just wanted to update.